Okay, and now we are live. This is our fourth session. Uh, this time we will have two interesting topics. One is Sitecore plus Azure, better together. And Vinicius will walk through all the Azure portal. So we'll show some concepts and advantage in getting your environment into the cloud. Um, then Richard will give us a session about data exchange framework, introduction and practical example. Richard will be covering this framework and demonstrating how it works with a real life example. I will let them introduce themselves. So please, Vinicius, let's start. And thank you for being here.
Okay, I should say thank you, Santiago, for the opportunity to speak in the Sitecore User Group Ecuador. So, let me share my screen. Okay, can you guys see my screen, Santiago and Richard?
Yep.
Yes.
And which one are you guys seeing, the presentation or the PowerPoint itself?
The presentation.
Presentation.
Okay, super. So I'm going to present Sitecore plus Azure better together. And here is our agenda for tonight. So I will be covering, let's say, 6 topics, starting with who I am. And let's get started with that. So my name is Vinicius Deschamps. I'm a system administrator at Vaultec. I have plus 10 years playing system administrator roles. I'm a Microsoft Certified Solutions Associate, and I have been awarded with the Sitecore MVP 2017 and for this year as well, 2018. So, um, quickly introduction to the cloud, but before doing that, I have a hands-on session later in this presentation, and I will explain a little bit more what is this process that I'm starting right now, because it took a little bit during my testing this afternoon. So let's get things started prior so we can get the final result at the end of the presentation. So bear with me to get these things going on. All right. Well, while I'm get prompt to just a second, let me change screens here. So while I get prompt for the credentials, let me back to the presentation. So back to introduction to the cloud. I know that many of you already hear about the cloud. So cloud has different flavors. No matter the provider that you choose, you can find one, two, or more of those available for you. So infrastructure as a service is the most known flavor that you will find in cloud. So Azure, for example, offers infrastructure as a service in a way that you rent Azure IT resources like hardware, physical and virtual, um, network and storage space. Business needing to scale their IT environment see huge benefits to having infrastructure as a service as part of their IT strategy. And the second one, it's the platform as a service. And as you can see here, it englobes more than just infrastructure as a service and provides development tools, database management, and business analytics and operating systems. So as you can see here, infrastructure as a service just cover some pieces that you get advantage of. So that's a platform as a service. So it's a group of service that abstracts application infrastructure, OS middleware, and configuration details. So this is the platform as a service. Software as a service englobes the whole group, let's say like that, and is an option where the software is owned, delivered, and managed by multiple or one or a single vendor. Um, Currently, Sitecore does not provide the software as a service option, so be aware that Sitecore does not provide that for your application. And just to get a further information, how your responsibility is leading by the choose you make by going on-prem or choosing infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service. The blue squares are the customer, which means you or your company, and the grade ones are the Microsoft, in this case, Azure. So as you can see here, when you go on-prem, everything it's on you. So all the responsibility relies on you, on your IT team, on your IT support to deliver all the projects you need. As further you go with the flavors of cloud, then you start to share some of the load with the provider, in this case, Microsoft Azure. So in the last option, as you can see, software as a service, you don't take care of anything. And I guess that's one of the things that Sitecore does not provide software as a service for now. But I would bet that in future that probably be an option for most part of the companies to get Sitecore in their environment. Okay, so now speaking a little bit about Azure. So in the past, so if you never have the opportunity to sign in Azure, this is how it looks like. So this is Microsoft Portal, and couple months back in January, December 2017, you have two portals. The classic one and the resource manager. That's the one that it's being shown at this screen right now. So since January this year, Microsoft retired the classic portal, and now all you have it's the resource manager portal or the new version 2 of the portal. So everything you need is here, and everything you you need to configure your environment to set up your VMs, your platform as a service, or either your software as a service. It's provided by Azure Portal Resource Manager. Well, before I jump, let me check how are things with my VM briefly. Just a second. I will. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. And just you guys know, I'm starting the process to provisioning Sitecore as using platform as a service, using some templates that I will be speaking a little bit more in a couple minutes. So, okay, so the process has started, and let's get things going. Sorry about that, guys. So back to our presentation. So this is the Resource Manager portal, and to better understand about how things are done in Azure, I listed a couple of things here. So in Azure, in order to better sit your your environment, you can create resource groups. So resource groups, you classify your objects like virtual machines, web application, anything you need in a single resource group, for example, and all this resource group, it's associated with a region. So I can have multiple things associated with a single resource group, but not the opposite. So each resource can only exist in a single in one resource group. So uh, let's say that I want to deploy a virtual machine in Ecuador, and Microsoft offer a South America data center, and I want to create a resource group that everything I start deploying in Ecuador will be there. So I create a resource group, name it wherever I want, let's say Ecuador resource group, and I group everything that will be in Ecuador data center over there. So all the resources at this group will share the same life cycle. So what that's mean? What this means is it means that if Azure runs a maintenance in that particular region, all your um, all your resource will be affected if the maintenance occurs for that specific resource. Um, a couple weeks ago, Microsoft released a patch update for for a malware for an attack, a vulnerability, and this happens a lot. If you have multiple VMs in a single resource group, all VMs will be affected. So keep in mind that the resource group are here to help you as well. Okay, so network security groups. So network security groups works like your firewall. So you can create either allowing or denying rules, and for both directions, so inbound and outbound. So you can disable the ability to navigate to specific websites, for example, or either to allow people from outside to access your HTTP port, for example. So network security groups can be associated to subnets, individual VMs, or individual networks attached to the VMs. Okay, so Traffic Manager is another great resource for Azure. So Traffic Manager usually you you have the usage for it to swap your traffic to a different data center, providing high availability and also for disaster recovery purposes. So it improves availability, improve responsiveness, and perform service maintenance without downtime. So if you have, for example, a content delivered node of Sitecore running in different regions, of course with a load balancer as well in place, it's very easy to swap from one region to another and make the site available even during a maintenance, for example. And it's possible to combine on-prem and cloud-based application, and it's also an option to distribute the traffic. And another great thing that Azure provides you, it's Marketplace. So Marketplace have solutions you need, provision end-to-end solutions, and deploy with confidence. So let's say, for example, that I don't have a strong background in deploy a Solar server, but I need it up and running as soon as possible because I have a need for a client. So what I do, I go to the marketplace and do a search for solar and see what Azure could offer for me. And just to let you guys know that Azure offer a solar server in Linux distribution. So in a couple minutes, you will have a solar server up and running without any effort uh, from your side. So with that in mind, you leave the solar server running and you go learn as well. So that's a good feature for Azure. So why Sitecore plus Azure? So as you probably know, Sitecore is built on .NET, and the next versions are being um, change it a little bit from .NET to .NET Core. Please correct, guys, if I'm saying anything wrong by now. But it's built on .NET, and Microsoft has created .NET. So why not use Sitecore in Azure if the creator of the core language is Microsoft? So that's a good thing. So Windows, Microsoft environment, and Sitecore has everything to do, everything to match. So speed to market, happily deploy Sitecore on Azure without worrying with IT. The all enterprise grade cloud, Microsoft Azure ensures Sitecore experience database is secure. So infinite scalability, always on, accident protection, pay as you go, and interoperability. So there's plenty of reasons to go with Sitecore in Azure, and you should be aware of that. And since Sitecore 9, Sitecore has also provided, uh, actually said that every update for Sitecore 9 will also be ready for the cloud. And guys, also let me know at the Q&A part if I'm saying anything wrong by here. All right, so ways to provision Sitecore. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have marketplace. So as you can see here, over just a second. Okay, so as you can see here, this is a search field where I typed Sitecore Experience Cloud, and it bring me Sitecore Experience Cloud. So it's just a matter of a click and provide some sort of information what I want to accomplish with my Sitecore environment, and it's done. So it's just a matter of clicking, poking around, and wait for the Sitecore environment to be ready in Azure. The other way to do that, it's through Sitecore Azure Toolkit. So you download um, some configuration files where you change according to your need, and then you will be able to deploy using your desktop or a server that you have. And also there's other pieces that should be covered by here, but I will explain in the demonstration that is running in background. So with Azure Toolkit, I created, let's say, step-to-step what you should accomplish first. So you have to download Sitecore Azure Toolkit. Later, you have to download Sitecore topology according to your needs as well. And you also have to download a quick start templates from GitHub. These ones in particular, I saw some scripts in the internet that allows you to point to GitHub itself instead of downloading. But there's another. This is another topic, another discussion conversation. So we can download and do everything at our own machine. And one of the pieces is to get to upload Sitecore package to your Azure storage to make things easier for you. So before I jump to system administrator piece, let's see how things are going with our demonstration. So it's still deploying, no errors so far. So I think let me jump in and at the Azure portal. So this is how this is how Azure portal looks like. So let's get a further look in the resource group. So as you can see here, I have Sitecore topology, SUG Ecuador resource group, and Sitecore user group Ecuador 2. That was my testing, and this is the actual environment running that I'm deploying while I speak. So as you can see here, I already have tons of stuffs here. So all database already in place. We have an app server service already in place. We also have Azure Search here, and I guess it's still deploying. Let's see how things are going. So yeah, so it's been 10 minutes since I started the process. So seems that it's still deploying a couple things. Yeah, the infrastructure deploying 10 minutes. So based on my experience, this will take let's 20 minutes more. Let's cross our fingers to make things faster. But in the meantime, let me walk you through the things that I spoke a bit early on this topic. So I also mentioned network security groups. So this is a security group that it's created for my virtual machine. So as you can see here, there is inbound rules, outbound rules, and by here I can manage who has access to my environment. And let's jump to marketplace very quickly. So I just click on marketplace, and if I have interested in deploy a Sitecore. So see, I have Sitecore Experience Cloud here, and yeah, I want to create a new Sitecore Experience Cloud. Let's see what I'm asked to create that. So over here, I have the option to create a new resource group or use an existing. So let's create a new one, Sitecore Marketplace. Okay, and let's see what Sitecore settings offer for me. Okay, so as you can see here, I have options to go since update 8 to update 1 to the latest release, that's Sitecore 9 and update 1. So let's say that my client's not up to date, and let's choose topology here, and the smallest size. Um, okay, I don't need any module by now, so just demonstrating you how to move forward. Okay, well, apparently Microsoft does not have a data center in Ecuador, so let's deploy in West Europe. Sorry about that, guys. So, and let's move forward and make our voice to Microsoft open a data center in Ecuador soon. All right, so Sitecore administrator password. So let's open. I don't have anything to super password 1, and let's confirm my super password 1. Okay, so I don't have a MongoDB by now, but let's see if I can get tricky here, saying that it's Mongo admin and my password at localhost 7, and I guess that's it. Let's see if it complains about anything. So SQL Server login. So SQL admin marketplace, and my super password again. My super password 1. And very important that you must provide um, proper license for this. So let's, and if you're not sure about your license being valid or not, please contact your Sitecore representative sales to solve any further question that you have. But usually, the Sitecore license works for Azure platform as well. Okay, it's complaining. Oh, just a second. Let's see. Okay, let's click next. Okay, so we have an important notice here. Marketplace cannot currently deploy to resource group that contains certain characters in their name. For example, underscore due to Microsoft naming. Okay, but our resource group does not have any like that. So let's click OK. And I guess if I have to review legal terms. And okay, that's fine. Create. And let's click OK and see what happens. So as you can see, I spent no more than 10 minutes poking around and providing information to to provision a Sitecore app service in Azure. So if everything goes, it's okay with that. I believe that we should see a resource group being deployed. Okay, so we have a resource group here. And under this resource group, in the next minutes, I'll probably see everything that Marketplace is deploying behind the scenes. And just to give life to my example, if you go here and at Marketplace again and type Solar, you see that you have the option to deploy Solar. Um, so another thing, it's I guess we have MongoDB. Yeah, so you have MongoDB 3.4 on Ubuntu, and you also have MongoDB with replication. So let's say that you don't have any background in set up MongoDB with replication set. So there you go. Okay, let's see how things going with our deployment. Okay, still deploying. Let's check if Marketplace has any improvement by now. Okay, and Sitecore Ecuador. Okay, still deploying. Nothing new so far. Okay, let's back to our presentation and get things done. So, oh, sorry. Just recall that I have to show you how do I get to this deployment process here. So, Sitecore provides Sitecore. Just a second, it's a bit slow. Okay, so if I go to Sitecore portal, I'm able to download Sitecore Platform 9 Update 1, and usually you go here and choose what topology match your need. So instead of download any of those here, you scroll down a little bit and you go to download options for Azure App Service. So in our case here, I have downloaded the XP single package, and just to better illustrate here, the single package contains two zip files that I have to upload them to our Sitecore storage, to Azure storage. So um, with that package uploaded, I'm able to point my JSON file to use during the process installation. So so as I was mentioned here, so download Azure Toolkit. So first thing you have to do, it's look for Sitecore Azure Toolkit and download it. Okay, so Azure Toolkit, just to let you guys know, oops, Azure Toolkit. Let me extract again over here. So Azure Toolkit will have all the items you need to deploy Azure to the cloud. It's just a matter to execute a script in PowerShell that makes all the trick behind the scenes. you need. So what I did here, before the presentation, of course, um, I created some folder structure here called Ecuador to better illustrate the Sitecore user group, and I created a Azure toolkit with with everything that was in that zip file, and I have created. I have got from internet a PowerShell script, and also I put my license here because it's also needed, and also I downloaded from the Azure templates from this GitHub portal. So all these address I will share in the video description with Santiago, and he will add it to the description. So that will make your life a way easier. Okay, so what should I do then? So I got this script from a blog that I will share, of course, again later on in the description, and I change accordingly to my environment. So this is the Sitecore templates that the Sitecore toolkit where I should point. The template I pointed to GitHub, and I have choose my deployment ID, my resource group, SUG Ecuador, my license file, the certificate that I had to generate. Also, I got from internet from the same blog. I will share again. I will share later on. I have my subscription ID, a location, and there is the piece that I want to show you. So inside of the Azure templates, I have the Azure templates that I got from GitHub. It's it's splitted by versions and what you need to achieve. So if you want to deploy a Sitecore 9, you should use this folder here, and then you go with the XP single topology. That's fine. This is the JSON file that you have to use. So in my case, specific case here, I have used the Sitecore 901, and I modified those guys here. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little bit inside of those parameters. So what I did, I have also provided the deployment ID, the location that I want to deploy, Sitecore admin password. Pretty much the same thing that I provided in Marketplace, I have to provide on this file here. So PowerShell will run the script, point to this JSON file, and deploy that to the Azure. And here's the package that I mentioned you guys that I have to upload to Azure. So what I have here, it's my storage in Azure, my blob container, and this is the package that I got from Azure, from Sitecore portal. So I have downloaded the package for XP single, and I have uploaded to my storage. So in as a tip, please download Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer. That makes your life way easier to upload and download things from the cloud. Okay, so if I have to show you over here in the Azure portal, you see that I created a storage called Sitecore topology files. Sorry, and under blobs, I have a container named Sitecore topology files. Doesn't not necessarily needs to be the same name as the storage. It's just to illustrate that. And here's the two zip files that I got from Sitecore Azure package from the Sitecore portal. Okay, so packages are still running, and as you can see here, it just deployed the Xconnect, and it's now deploying Xconnect single instance. It's deploying that, and this status happening from 5 to 5 seconds. And let's see what time it's really started by here. So let's see how long we are waiting for this to complete. So it started at 11:08 p.m. So it's 11:34 at the server here. So let's move forward with with the presentation. And if you guys have any further question, let's solve those by the end of the presentation for sure. All right, so system administrator. So what the hell did I bring this topic to an Azure speak? So the reason it's oh, sorry about that. Have removed the just a second. So what do system administrators do all day? And I have brought joking. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Because that's pretty much what we do during daily basis. Oh, you have a problem with Sitecore? Did you try restart your VM or your application service or Azure at all? So it's not that serious. We also configure, manage, troubleshoot, monitor, fix every aspect of company's computer network and IT infrastructure. And fellow employees thinks he just surfs the internet and fix the printer. I know you guys are thinking about that. So no worries. I don't take that too serious. No, joking. I do. So what about the cloud? Will your job role disappear? So let me share something with you guys. So cloud cloud is a good thing for all system administrator because we are not here to just deal with daily basis things like printers. I'm not able to print. I'm not able to access a website. Why this website is blocked? So uh, the idea is to get system administrator to think efficiently, to get more money to the company for sure, as well as developers and probably other roles as well. But the cloud makes you think that your job role will disappear. Yes, it does, but I'm not getting stuck at any point. So I need to learn Azure. I need to learn Amazon. I need to learn Sitecore. So that's what I'm been doing. So in fact, cloud is a good thing. So um, the idea of not seeing the server definitely scares the shit out of me, for sure. But I have been working remotely from the data center since 2013 when I joined Vaultec, and I don't have any complaints regarding that. So please be aware that system administrator career could disappear, but for those that keep the ball running and learning new stuff, be aware that you guys don't have any risk at all. So cloud definitely is a good thing for companies that want Sitecore, for companies that want to move their environments. But again, system administrators are there to think efficiently and reduce the footprint of environments for sure. Okay, guys. Okay, so that's it for today for me. But before I ended up and jump to question and answer, let's quickly check our deployment again. Oh, not sure if I will be able to deliver that in proper time, but let's see how things goes. Sitecore user group Ecuador. Okay, I guess we are near to the end. Okay, let's jump to question and answers, if any. Hope there are plenty of. So
Well, we have one from Andres Villenas, and he say, "Can I deploy a Sitecore site to an application service lot? Which constraint do I have?"
sorry, I'm not entirely sure if I understood correctly. So would you mind in repeat that?
Yeah, can I deploy a Sitecore site to an application service slot? Uh, which
Ooh.
constraint do you
O-
have?
Okay, you mean instead of deploying using Azure Toolkit or Marketplace, like create an app service and then you put all the files over there. Is that what you mean?
Azure App Service.
Yeah. So let's better illustrate that. So what I'm understanding is that you want to create a new app service, right? An app service, and you name it whatever you want. So Vinicius the Champs, right? And instead of having anything behind the scenes here, like Sitecore files, you don't have anything. And then after you create a app services lot, you want to upload the Sitecore files to the application app service. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sorry to disappoint you, but that's a way good question that I never tried before. And to be fair with you, uh, well, thinking out loud here, I believe that you should be able to upload the files, but I'm not entirely sure if would work properly because there's probably more behind the scenes. But if you think that in the background of the app service you have a Windows running and an IaaS to serve your environment, because when we click here to create a new app service, it gives you the option if you want a Windows or Linux machine. So I would say, but again, I'm not entirely sure. I will definitely check that because it's a really good question. I would say that yes, it should work, but uh, you probably face a struggle with some issues because the Sitecore package that you deploy on-prem probably it's a bit different from the one that you will deploy over applications app service in Azure. But good question though.
Okay. And what about pricing?
Pricing about application service. Okay, so Azure provides you an Azure calculator. Not sure if you guys are aware of it. Oh, sorry. Let me open in English. I was open in Portuguese. Just a second. US. Okay, so app service. So you have all options here with the. Are you guys seeing my screen, right?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. So you have all options that you can deploy in Azure over here, and you can get an estimative. So app service. So let's say that you want to deploy on East US, and here's a definition of the tier. So you have free, you have shared, you have basic, standard, and premium. So let's say standard. It's what I use to do for most production environment. And well, that's a good question regarding. Let's go to premium. Hmm. Mm, Let's assume that. Let's say that. No, it's not that much. Sorry. I guess. Oops. East. East US. Okay, so on East US, to have for a month, you would spend $292 month to have an S3 instance with 4 core and 7 gigs for a single instance. So if you have to replicate that for the whole Sitecore environment, of course you have um, you don't need such instance with 4 cores and 7 gigs for all XConnect reporting processing. So you could decrease a little bit. So if you think in clone those, let's say in terms of price, so you have like 6 or 7 app service plus database. So this is the price that you are going to pay for a single one, almost $300 per month. But probably Sitecore has has a minimum requirement for app service. I don't recall to see that, but they probably do. So I would go with these one as three for sure.
Okay, good recommendation. Okay,
Anything else?
yeah, I don't think we have any other question.
Okay, so let's see if okay, it's still finishing here. Um, okay, so I have deployed. I thought that that might would happen. So let me quickly share before pass the ball to Richard. So I have deployed uh, before the user group start a Sitecore user group Ecuador 2 resource group and all the stuff that I'm deploying now. So I have the SUG Ecuador 2 here app service. So the result that I was expecting to see was, oh, as you can see here, just a quick note. So looks like standard one is small for a single, for the single XP single topology is the way to go. So Sitecore bring that during the deployment. So I didn't choose any of that. So standard one small would do the trick for Sitecore. Okay, so what I do see here, it's a Sitecore single instance app service, and as soon as I got it deployed, I have the ability to navigate over URL. So I should see a Sitecore the full view when you got it installed, as you probably see a lot already, and you have the ability to change DNS. You have the ability to add custom domains. You have the ability to add SSL settings, add certificates and things like that nature. So that was the what you should expect once you got this deployed. You also will see database here as well, and I know that the fact that it takes 40 near to 40 minutes to deploy because that would what take it to deploy the SUG Ecuador 2 example. It's a way fast than you get the system administrator to run everything manually. I know that Sitecore 9 on-prem has improved a lot the installation, but still 40 minutes it's way fast than get someone to write down a script with all information you need and things of that nature, or spin up, let's say that you are going to spin up a VM, so you also have the ability to spin up VMs with PowerShell, but it's way fast. And as you could see here at the calculator, good question I thought, so it's cheap as well. So uh, well, I guess that's it, guys. If no further question, is there any, Santiago?
No, no more. Thank you
No.
very much, Vinicius. Yep.
So thank you again, Santiago, for the opportunity to speak at Sitecore User Group Ecuador. Thank you guys for watching. I hope I could answer your questions properly, and please reach me at one of the channels here. Please feel free to reach me out. And thanks again. Have a great night. And Richard, up to you.
Thank you. All right. Do you guys see my PowerPoint?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, my name is Richard Leva, and I'm gonna give you a brief introduction about data exchange framework. So this is the agenda. I'm gonna give a brief introduction about myself. I'll explain what is data exchange framework, some important concepts, the benefits of it. I'll give a brief demo, and then we'll have a questions and answers session. So I hold a master's degree in advanced computer science from the University of Manchester. I'm currently a senior software engineer at Verndale, and I have more than 3 years working with Sitecore. I'm a Sitecore and Episerver certified developer, and those are my social networks. This URL here, sitecore.com, is my blog. I haven't posted anything yet, but I will be posting some interesting stuff. So I'll keep you guys posted. So let's get into the interesting stuff. So what is data exchange framework? It is basically a Sitecore module to transfer data. So data exchange framework provides the ability to define the synchronization processes and data mappings that result in data being synchronized between Sitecore and third-party systems. So Sitecore can be the source or the target system. And when I say source system, I mean the system from which the information that we want to pull is going to be pulled from. And by target system, I mean the system where the retrieved data will be stored. ETL, ETL, it basically means extract, transform, and load. So data exchange framework is like an ETL layer because it basically extracts information from a source system, transforms that data that you extracted into something that a target system can understand, and loads that data into the target system. The good thing is that it's really easy to install. So it's just a Sitecore package. We also have the Data Exchange Framework SDK. That is a different package. The SDK provides tools used to create custom providers. And it also provides tools used to upgrade existing data exchange framework configurations when new versions of data exchange framework or providers become available. There's some cool out of box providers. These need to be installed separately, so they do not come with the installation package, but it's in the same download page anyway. So for instance, the Sitecore provider, it allows to read and write items to Sitecore content databases. The SQL provider does something similar. It allows to read and write to databases and also run stored procedures. The XConnect provider is basically the same for XConnect, so it provides the ability to read and write data to the collection and reference data services of XConnect. Um, some important concepts about data exchange framework. Sorry for the blurry image here. I just took a screenshot of my Sitecore tree. But anyway, so on the second node you see here that says WordPress. That is the tenant. So a tenant in data exchange is basically just a form of grouping some configurations that need to go together. Okay. Um, then endpoints. Well, endpoints are basically Sitecore items where you can set up all the settings you will need to extract the data from your source system. So in these endpoints, you can basically specify the API URLs you're gonna use to access data, or you can have credentials, etc. The other thing are pipelines. So pipelines are basically groupings of pipeline steps. Uh, Pipelines are basically it's the same concept as the standard pipelines and processors that we have in Sitecore. Each pipeline, as I said before, each pipeline has a group of pipeline steps, and these pipeline steps um, perform certain actions. So let's say we can have a pipeline step to read the data from the source, and we can have another pipeline step to store it in the target. Or maybe we can have a pipeline step to index information in Solar or store it in a database or run certain stored procedures, etc. you will see that in the demo, I have set 6 pipeline steps that I'm using to export to import blocks from WordPress into Sitecore. Then we have pipeline batches. Pipeline batches basically let you run the whole process. So you will see that when you click on a pipeline batch, you will have a button to just run the whole synchronization process that you have defined. The pipelines that you want to run and in what order can be specified in these items. There's also another cool thing about this, and it's that setting up scheduled tasks for certain pipeline batches is really simple. I will go over this on the demo. Okay, some benefits that we have by using this data exchange framework. So basically, it allows to have consistent way of importing and exporting data into Sitecore. Data exchange framework provides a standardized way of working with synchronization processes. Of course, you can develop the same sync processes without using data exchange framework, but by using this, you will keep all your sync processes consistent. The good thing is that once you get used to it, it's really simple to create new providers and synchronization processes. Another good thing about this is that if we all use the same pattern, it will be easier for another people to pick up our work. So let's say if our project goes to support, then the people that is gonna support this will have the knowledge and will know how to work with it if they know how data exchange framework works. Another good thing is that it's really easy to upgrade. So it's just an update package and we are done, basically. It is highly configurable and extendable. It allows you to integrate with almost any third-party system. It promotes reusability by providing patterns and components that help you with your integration. There, in the beginning, it can seem a bit overwhelming because there's a lot of settings that have to be modified and changed. But again, once you get used to it, it's really straightforward. Um, okay, now let's go to the fun part, which is the demo. Do you guys see my Sitecore instance?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'm oh okay. Before this, I'm using Data Exchange Framework 2.0.1, which is the latest version, and my Sitecore version is Sitecore 9 Update 1. Um, so here this is the downloads page for the Data Exchange Framework. And as I told you before, we have two different packages, one for the data exchange framework itself and another one for the SDK. So that's two different packages, and I would recommend you to install both. We also have the packages for the providers here. And okay. So after you install Data Exchange Framework, it will go under the system node, and you will find this data exchange here. So you have to create your tenant. To do this, you just right click and insert empty data exchange tenant. The good thing about the SDK is that we will get this menu on the ribbon. So it's really simple to create providers. So this will create some of the templates you need. It will speed up the work of creating providers. So that's why I recommend you to install it. And okay, so I have created one endpoint for my
Okay,
work.
Richard, can
Sorry,
you zoom in a little bit?
sure. Let me know when is it better?
Yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Okay. Um, okay, so I created this WordPress endpoint, and I'm basically I have these three fields. So I'm gonna be importing blog posts, and then in order to import those blog posts, I will need to import the tags of the post and the categories of the post as well. So in order to do this, this is a custom template, but we need to inherit from one of the templates that Data Exchange Framework comes with, which is this base endpoint template. With this, well, you can set up the fields that you need, and it will come with this Data Exchange Framework section. So in here, you will need to specify which is gonna be your converter. So a converter basically allows you to convert a Sitecore item model to something that Data Exchange Framework can actually understand. I will explain. I will explain this in a bit more detail when I get to the code. So okay. So for now, all we need to know is that we have our settings right here in the endpoint. Then we have our pipelines. Okay. So each one of this is my import blocks pipeline, which has 6 children, which are the steps that I need in order to import the blocks. So first, I'm reading the categories from the API, and I'm writing the categories to Sitecore. Then I'm doing the same thing with tags and posts. Okay. And here in the pipeline batch is the item that I told you that has this button. So when you click on this button, the whole synchronization process that you specify will start going. So as you can see here, I set up this, I selected my imports blocks pipeline. So this pipeline is the one that is gonna run when I click on this button, right? Um, Something that is a bit is kind of important to mention is that this button will come grayed out in the beginning, and that's because by default you don't have this checkbox in the tenant enabled. So if this is not enabled, when you go to your pipeline batch, this will be grayed out. So you won't be able to run it. So you need to go here and enable it. And okay, so I'm gonna be importing this. So I already have these items here, right? I'll just gonna go ahead and delete this just to show you that it actually works. And then if I come here and then I just run my pipeline batch, um, okay, so it should be, and here we have the categories, posts, and tags. All right. So I'm using well let's see which post I'm using one of the demo WordPress blogs out there. And so basically, I retrieved most of this information. So I have the content title, and then here at the end, I have the categories and the tags. I will show you that I have this in my sidecar item. So here's the content. Then here I have the categories and the tags. So this is not a complete example because maybe we would want to import more things. Well, it depends on what you actually want to do with these blog posts. If it's just because you want to import them so that you can store them you can index them in Solar so that you can search for blogs inside your site, even though they don't live in your site, then probably this is enough. But maybe you want to actually migrate this from an old WordPress to Sitecore, then you might need to import more data than I'm actually doing. But this is a good start. Okay, so I think that's basically it from Sitecore. Oh, I was forgetting. So schedule tasks. So maybe you wanna if you wanna have this running every day or in any schedule. So the only thing you need to do is we by by installing data exchange framework, you get this these commands. So run all pipeline batches command and run selected pipeline batches command. So I created this last one here, and it basically lets you select which pipeline batch you wanna schedule. So I selected my import blocks pipeline batch, and that is basically it. So I didn't have to do anything else. I'm using the out of box processors, so I didn't have to code anything to create this schedule task. And then here, this item here is just a normal schedule. So you select the command you just created, which is this run WordPress batches command, and then you just set the schedule here. You might be wondering why this is looking like this. I've always used a cool plugin for Sitecore. It's called Sitecore Shellwax, I think, and it lets you see these scheduled tasks in a friendly way. Because we all know that the other format is a bit ugly. Okay, so I think that's it for the Sitecore part. As you can see, it's pretty simple. You define your settings in an endpoint, and then you define the steps that you want to go through so that you achieve a goal, which in my case was to import blocks from WordPress. Okay, so I will explain a bit about what I did to actually code this. Okay,
Yeah, could
so
you also zoom it too?
sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Is it better?
Um, a little bit, please. Yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So remember, I told you that for the endpoint we needed a converter, so that the one we specified here. So that is because we need to convert an item model, which is this one here. We need to convert it into something that data exchange framework can actually understand. And data exchange framework can understand these WordPress settings. So I created this, and I am implementing this I plugin so that I can add this plugin to my endpoint. After I do this, on the next step, which is my step processor, I will show you after this. I will be able to grab this endpoint and request for these settings, because right here I'm not doing anything with this, right? I'm just adding this to my endpoint into something that data exchange framework can actually understand. But there's going to be a point where I need to access all this, and that point is when I read, let's say, categories. So this is my pipeline step. If I go to Sitecore, read categories pipeline step. So I have this processor, right? This is the one that has all the logic to read categories from WordPress, which is the one I'm showing you right now. And here, what I'm doing is I get this. So I have the endpoint here. I need to get the settings. So in order to do this, I just created a simple extension that basically gets the endpoint, the data from the endpoint. Okay, and then with this information, I can say settings, categories URL, or tags URL, or post URL, which are the URLs that I specified on my endpoint in Sitecore right here. Okay. Okay, so let's rewind a bit. Okay, so once I have once I converted this endpoint, I am able to start processing stuff. So, well, what I'm doing here is just using Factory to instantiate my WordPress service. And as you can see, it's pretty simple. I abstracted all the work related to the read and write from these processors, because it's a different thing, right? Um, but this, what I want you guys to understand is how the data flow is how data flows in data exchange framework. So with the converter, we added this to the endpoint, right? And then in the processor, we can access that information, right? And then after I actually read from the URL that the settings had, I have here my blog posts, okay? But I need to store this somewhere so that when the next pipeline step comes, which is the one that is gonna be the one in charge of writing blogs into Sitecore. Um, so I do this. I add this plugin to the pipeline context, okay? Because all the pipeline steps have access to this pipeline context. So if I add this plugin, which is the blog posts, I will be able to access it on the on the right blocks processor. I will be able to use this data and actually do something with it. And that is what I'm doing here. Okay. So I'm telling the pipeline context to give me the iterable data settings, which are the blog post in this case. Remember this? So with this, I'm saying in the right block step processor, I'm saying, okay, give me this blog post that I gave you in the previous step, and let's do something with it. And that's what I'm actually doing with this WordPress service. I'm creating this blog posts in Sitecore. All right. So as you can see, it's really simple how data flows in Data Exchange Framework, and I can show you what I did to actually read the blog posts and write them to Sitecore. So I have this tiny generic method that basically instantiates a web client and requests and um, and basically transforms this data that I receive into a list of whatever type I send here. And then to write, I'm doing this. So let's say create categories in Sitecore. So I'm basically creating the items in Sitecore. If I used the Sitecore provider, this would have been a bit different. But I just started from scratch, didn't want to use anything out of the box, so this is how it works. And I think that's it. Maybe you guys want me to explain something else in the questions. Um, maybe are there any questions, Santiago?
Not now. I don't know if anyone has a new question or posed a question. If not, but this is very useful if you know how
Yeah,
to use it.
yeah. The interesting part is it's because I remember when I first started working with this, I was like a bit overwhelmed with all the stuff that you have.
Yep.
But actually, when once you get used to it, it's really simple. And
Yep.
once you understand how the data flows in between the pipeline steps and in between the endpoints and stuff like that, it's really simple. So I think this is a very useful tool.
And do you think that the documentation from Psycho it's helpful? It's enough?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty decent. Um, and actually, well, I didn't say this before, but so the documentation for Sitecore says recommends you to use item models,
Mm-hmm.
which basically looks like this. Um, this happens because when here um, they use these classes on the endpoint converters because by 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 inheriting from this base endpoint converter, you get some methods to that help you to read values from sidecar items. So we get this get string value method, for instance. So you pass an item, and then you just pass the field
File name.
name.
Mhm.
Yeah, you pass the field name. And that's why they say, okay, let's create these item models, and then we have constants with the file names, with the field names, right? I didn't use that because I'm using TDS on Glass, so I don't need to create more classes than the ones I already have.
Mhm.
And yeah, and basically I say from the class generated by TDS, just give me the field name and that's it. But yeah, besides that, there's the documentation is pretty decent. It's better than some of the documentation for other features.
And when you, where do you import the content from the blog post?
Oh, so that's in the reader. I import it, or you mean save it to Sitecore
Yeah, in the what which pipeline did you create?
for to save it to Sitecore or
Yeah,
what?
to get the content and then put it into the a cycle item.
Okay, so yeah, so for instance, here I'm reading the blog post, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have with this, I'm actually hitting WordPress, the WordPress API, and I after this call, I have a list of blogs. Okay, so I add that to the pipeline context so that when the time comes to write this to Sitecore, so write block steps processor. This processor is the one that is going to write to actually store data into Sitecore. So the only thing I do is I get my data set from the pipeline context, and so remember in the previous step I added a plugin to the pipeline context which contained the data set, right? Here in read block steps processor, I'm saying pipeline context, add plugin, block data. And then when I need to use this information and store it into Sitecore, I say pipeline context, get plugin, iterable data settings, which is going to return me the blog posts. Okay. So in this step, I have the posts. I already have the posts here, the blog posts. So when I come here, I have a list of posts. And then I'm doing
Okay, so
the
there
normal
you
stuff.
have the all the logic. Because for
Yeah.
instance, if you like import all the content of a post, let's say it has an image, and you also want to import an image as a media
Exactly. Then
item,
I
you
would
have
need
to
to have
do.
a separate step processor.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
And that's what I'm doing actually with the categories and the tags because those get created as sidecar items as well, but in a different pipeline step.
Okay,
So yep.
okay. I don't see any questions, so I think we are good now.
Okay.
Just a second. I guess I have one question. So, as you might know, I'm not a developer at all. So, you mentioned about at the one of the first slides that you have OOTB providers. So you listed Sitecore, SQL, XConnect, and Microsoft Dynamics, right?
Yep.
So, um, is are those source of information that you could fill at Sitecore at somehow, or what
Yes.
exactly they are?
It's actually both ways. So let's say you're using the SQL provider. Okay.
Okay.
So you can actually export data from Sitecore to SQL, or the other way around. You can do SQL to Sitecore.
Okay, so if I'm using Microsoft Dynamics, I can get this my contact list for a
Yes.
business thing. Okay, okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Okay. So I think that's it for me, Santiago.
Okay, yeah. So I will thank you very much, guys, for being part of this session. I appreciate your collaboration because without you, this community needs to grow, and without speakers, it's impossible. So thank you very much, and let's see how it goes. And talk to you later.
Okay,
Bye. Thank
perfect.
you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.